Hello and welcome to the MRO show presented by Chadwell Supply. I'm your host, Adam Porter. Chadwell Supply is 100% dedicated to the multifamily industry. Your order is on our truck, delivered the next day. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com. Today on the MRO show, we're going to be talking to Sean Landsberg, CEO of AppWork, a company that's working hard to build the future of multifamily maintenance. Sean, welcome to the MRO show.
Hey, Adam. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited about the opportunity to talk to you, get to know what you and your group are doing. You guys are doing some exciting things that are meeting a direct need for our property managers and property maintenance guys out there. So talk to me a little bit about how you are building the future of multifamily maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely. First I'll start with a quick introduction to myself. My name is Sean Landsberg. I am the co-founder and CEO of AppWork. My background is actually in property management. So for about a decade, I was running the operations at a nationwide property management company. And that's really where AppWork started. We started building out our own technology to better manage our maintenance operation. There was never any thought of ever bringing that technology to market. But after building it for quite a few years, we looked back at it and realized that it's the best technology that's available on the market, or that was available on the market, which is really what led us to bring it to market.
What were some of the things, Sean, that some of the aspects of what you were doing that were answering specific needs that made it a good market fit?
Yeah, I think the most unique thing that we did was our focus on our users. So because we weren't building a product to sell it, we had this really unique advantage of we were just building a product that our team was going to use. And then once that was the focus, we weren't building a product saying, hey, how do we get it in the hand of decision makers? How do we get it to appeal to decision makers, right? So once we had the focus of saying, hey, we have this product and we just want it to be used and used really well, right? All of our resources went into, solving that, right? And I think that's one of the things that make us really unique.
I love that aspect of it. You guys are building it to use. So a lot of people talk about user experience when they're doing development. Well, that's what you guys were doing, was creating a better user experience.
100%. Everything centered around user experience, how people think. There was a lot of psychology that went into it. How people are going to use it. Who are our users? How do they think? And how would they interact with our platform?
So if I'm a maintenance guy out there and I'm turning wrenches on the daily, I'm busy. My work order stack never gets any lighter. I'm trying to keep up with my stuff. And I got a property manager who's got concerns. She's got residents that are calling and saying, hey, help me out. What can we do? Let's get this thing done. A lot of times there's emergency to it. So what are a few ways that what you guys are doing helps simplify life for those maintenance pros?
Absolutely. I think, first off is the actual, the technician app that we built. There are a few other apps on the market, and just something so simple that we found. The apps have a ton of information. And we just realized that it's overwhelming. Like you said, somebody's coming to work and there's, work orders are piling up. They have a ton of vacant units that they have to turn. And they open up their app and they're just, overwhelmed by what they see. So, the first step of that was, let's simplify that. Let's clean that up. Let's make that easily to digest, really simple, and give them what they need when they need it, not just throw everything at them at once.
Let's park here a little bit on buy-in, because one of the things when we first talking about this on our call last week, it sounded great to me, but one of the questions that popped up in my mind was, all right, so it's great. The property manager is going to love this. How are they going to generate buy-in for their teams? So what are a few ways that this app helps generate buy-in and gets the maintenance guys excited about what they're doing?
There's so much stuff. Honestly, the entire company was built off of that concept, off of creating an app that not only will the maintenance team know how to use, but they'll want to use. So there's a lot that we did to create that buy-in, gamification, and all these other things. But honestly, it's all part of a broader strategy that we have. It's called the AppWork Obsession Plan.
Oh, no.
And the plan there is simple, right? We just want everybody to be absolutely obsessed with our platform. And again, obviously everything else then builds up from there.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the really bullet point, some of the reasons people would be obsessed with the platform. I love that. That's that level of enthusiasm. One of the things you talked to me about was it's going to streamline maintenance processes through centralization. How does this interface create that result?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that it could do there. Again, from that perspective, and just centralization, and even just streamlining, I think we often don't realize how inefficient the existing maintenance operation is, right? I mean, you mentioned earlier, maintenance team, they come to work, and there's a gazillion open work orders, right? And one of the things with AppWork that we built a technology understanding is that the future of maintenance is not all AI, right? It's not maintenance for the foreseeable future is always going to need a human element to it, right? So we have this we have this understanding that there's going to be a human element, right? The toilet's not going to fix itself, right? The leak's not fixing itself. So we have this human
AI
element.
is not going to seat a toilet for sure.
Exactly. Not yet, and not for the foreseeable future. And that's really what we're trying to solve for. So we have this big component here of we realize maintenance is a human centric operation, and then we also see how inefficient maintenance is. I mean, just maintenance, you're running operations on typically large multifamily garden style communities or high rise properties, right? Think about how many times somebody could go up to the third floor and then back down to the first floor and then up to the 15th floor and then and just up and down, or on a garden style, the same idea of just going zigzagging throughout the property throughout the day, and think about how much time would be saved if we could just help them operate just a little bit more efficiently, right?
We all want to get our steps in, but we want to be efficient when we're doing it.
Exactly. There'll still be plenty of time to get those steps in. Just doing it in a little bit more organized manner, which again, if done correctly, and our technology helps empower that, helps enable that, right? I mean, just simply put, just think about how less overwhelming that will be from the technician's perspective. Obviously, the waterfall effect that has on the entire management operation, but again, just from the technician level, right? If we can make their job a lot less overwhelming, have the managers calling them and throughout the day a lot less, having them stopped less by frustrated residents, right? All that frustrations, that's part of the job.
So from a practical standpoint, the property managers, from what I hear you saying, is they're going to love it because their teams are going to be more efficient. They're going to be able to get more done in less time. And there's going to be kind of less frustration of, like you said, going from 5 to 3 to 2 to 1 and back around from building A to building C and back and that sort of thing. So they're saving time. But what are some of the reasons, kind of less practical and more fun ways that these maintenance guys are going to want to buy into what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, a lot of that just comes from the gamification, the competitiveness of the platform. There's a few components that we have. I mean, off the bat, as fundamental as it gets in today's environment, the option for residents to get ratings and reviews, right? I mean, that's like the first layer of gamification. Everybody always wants to get those ratings. Everybody wants to see, hey, I'm a 4-star technician. How do I compare with my peers? What are they? How many 5-star reviews do I have? So on and so forth. But where we get a little bit more unique is when it comes to our badges. So we built the ability for every property management company to create their own level of gamification, their own kind of reward system through our badges. So clients can create badges called, making it up, I don't know, an HVAC superstar, right? And then you can set the rule behind it, say, I don't know, somebody earns this badge when they complete 100 HVAC work orders, right? You could even say maybe 100 HVAC work orders within 30 days, right? I mean, you can build on all these different rules behind it. But once it's set in the system will then automatically track every technician's progress towards earning that badge. And then automatically, obviously, award the badge to the technician once they earn it, once they complete the steps necessary to earn it. So
it sounds like, Sean, there's like the level of customization based on your property manager, your teams, the type of service requests that they're getting, whether it's you're doing a lot of turns, so you're flipping a lot of toilet seats and a lot of flush valves, fill valves, that sort of thing, or if you're doing a reno and you're going to be doing some kind of larger items, installing appliances or something along those lines, you can really customize it to affect motivation based on what your guys are doing. Whether they're doing a lot of summertime, they're doing a lot of HVAC updates. I saw some of the sample badges, and you had one about installing toilets and one about, you said HVAC. So really anything that you want to focus on too, it's almost like a way to motivate the team if you want to do some changes or you want to focus on a particular skill set or type of work.
100%, and it's not just type of work. I mean, badges can be created based off of a length of time with the company. So I want to encourage people to stay with us, right? So you can create a badge that says, hey, every 6 months, right? Or you could have a 6 month badge. You could have a 2 year badge, right? So you could have badges that are earned based on amount of time that is somebody's with the company. You could have badges earned based off of quality of work from both ratings and callbacks. So you can say, I don't know, call it a silver superstar badge that you earn when you get 55-star ratings, right? I mean, there's so many different ways that badges can be earned. So it's not just the kinds of work orders that are being done, although that's probably the most common use case of the badges, but it's also the quality of the work, the tenure, the amount of time that somebody's with the company. And there's a few other components as well.
Do you see this potentially kind of lessening turnover for some of these teams?
That's a big part of it. I mean, the real thing that we're trying to accomplish here is, how do companies stand out? Maintenance teams are hard to staff, they're hard to retain, and one of the many ways that we look at it is how can we be different, right? Meaning, as a property management company, how can we offer a different and a better experience for our maintenance teams that they haven't gotten anywhere else and that they likely won't get somewhere else? And the way to do that is with the gamification, badges being one of them. But what we tell all of our clients, I mean, we provide the tools for it, but then it really goes to the client in terms of what they want to do with it. And we've seen clients get super creative with different things that they do with the badges, right? I mean, we had a client that in the last quarter of the year, they created like this really difficult, hard to earn badge. And then anybody who earned that badge, they actually gave them a physical trophy of that badge. So they brought that badge to life and gave them out at their company holiday party. So we see companies get super creative and do all different kinds of things to really, bring that badge system, the gamification system to life. But the badge system is just one of the few gamification components. Another really big one that we have, a relatively new one, is the AppWork coin system, and that is a little bit more real time than the badges. The badges, somebody earns a badge, 2-3 times a month, maybe, based on how easy or difficult the companies want to set that to be. But the coin system is more real time. So every time somebody completes a task, a work order, make ready inspection, they're earning coins. They get positive reviews. They gain bonus coins. Every month that they stay with the company, they earn even more coins. We even have bonus coins based on badges that they earn. So each badge that they earn, they get even more coins. But then it goes the other way too, where technicians can actually lose coins based on performance as well. Okay. So if they get negative ratings, well, we're going to take off some coins. If they get callbacks on their work orders, we're going to take off some coins. And that's really like what we see people going absolutely crazy on. Even our support tickets now. People used to not care when they got a negative rating. They used to not care when they get callbacks, and now if the technician felt that the rating wasn't fair, they're now reaching out to a support team and saying, hey, can you fix that? What wasn't a fair rating, which obviously goes to show the impact that the coin system is having.
They're very aware of it. So before, if you get a negative rating and there's no recourse, there's no issue with that, there's no response at all, that's easy to just kind of move on, just kind of kick on down the road and do the next ticket. But so you're kind of coming at this from both ways. So you're creating opportunities for creative, customizable, tangible rewards that the teams can work on to promote each other and to encourage each other, motivate each other, creating a little bit of competition on the team, but also kind of a way to actively encourage skill development and good attitudes, good customer service.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the end result of that aspect of it. So if my maintenance team is going out on the property and they're competing, they're positive, they're motivated to do a good job, they're more efficient because of the way the app is scheduling out their day. They're getting better reviews. My residents are having a better experience. Is this going to have any impact on retention?
It impacts so much. I mean, I think there was a bunch of surveys that were out, but one that I saw recently, that where they asked the residents, like what has the biggest impact on your likelihood to renew, and amenities, or they had all these different options there. But one of the more obvious options for me was like amenities such as a swimming pool, fitness center, things like that, and the other one was just maintenance. And it was a overwhelming response. People just said, maintenance is the best amenity, right? Maintenance is the best thing that can impact my ability, my likelihood to renew my lease. And I think a lot of companies underrate the power of maintenance and the impact that maintenance has. But I think that's really how we got started in this space. We saw from a firsthand experience the impact that maintenance had, which is really what led us to where we are today.
I think, and that's something, I love that you said that, because one of the things we like to talk about at Chadwell Supply is that these maintenance teams really are ambassadors for the properties, and they're in people's homes on a daily basis. And the impression they leave is not going to be benign. It's not going to be just middle of the road. It's going to be positive, or it's going to be negative. And these folks they're going to be more apt or less apt to renew, more apt or less apt to feel like they're safe and comfortable
Absolutely.
in their home.
Absolutely. And to your point, it's especially in today's day and age where most residents are paying rent online. Maintenance is the only interaction that they have with the property, with even the management company, right? Their interaction with the maintenance team is their representation of of everything that the person imagines of the entire organization. So to your point, it's just how important that interaction is and the impact that interaction can have.
Let's circle back around. You said that you've been getting some feedback about how many properties are using this service already.
There's a few thousand properties live today.
A few thousand. So it's a great sample size. What are some of the things that the property managers are saying? What's the feedback that you're getting?
The biggest feedback is really what we aimed to accomplish, to be honest. And it's just, the maintenance teams are more engaged than ever. The maintenance teams care more. Again, they're more enthusiastic about their work. We've heard stories where people are even fighting over work orders because they wanted to earn certain badges. And it's having the impact that it's intended to. And it's not just the one component that really that gets us to where we are. It's everything layered on. It's this incredibly simple, easy to use app that was built, essentially by technicians for technicians. On top of that, we have each of the different gamification components, all stacked on top of each other. They really make it an engaging, a way to make work a lot more engaging and motivating for them.
So, Sean, tell me about kind of the process when you were building. Is there any stories that you can recall about the early adoption, or maybe some questions that you were answering?
Yeah, absolutely. When we were first building I remember when I first before the feature went live on the badge program, I told our director of maintenance about this concept. Hey, we're going to build this way to make maintenance more fun. We're going to build these badges. Your teams can earn these badges. And he's like, well, what do they get? I'm like, nothing. It's in the app. It's, it's really cool. It makes it fun. And, there are a lot of 4-letter words that were thrown out along the lines of like, Sean, if you think that my guys are going to give a blankety blankety blank about some dumb blankety blankety blank, you're mistaken. And, you should focus to, build other features that are actually going to be used. But, again, being that we weren't a technology company, we were a property management company, and we had nothing to lose by trying it, I said, you may be 1,000% right, but let's see, like what does it hurt, right? It's definitely not going to demotivate the teams. That much he agreed. He just didn't think, his guys would even take note to it, realize it, or care at all about it. But it's actually really funny though, because like a week or two after we launched it, he called me. He's like, Sean, he's like, I don't know what's wrong with my guys, but they care so much about this stupid thing. So much so he told me that he was in a training and he had a bunch of the guys in the room, and he got there a few minutes late, and everybody was literally screaming at each other. Everybody was up in arms. He had, 2 guys were standing on top of tables. He finally calmed them down, and they were comparing their badges, the badge progress, to one another, like who was further along in earning certain badges. I mean, that just, shortly after we launched it, people were already going crazy about it. And another story he told me is just, he's at a property, and, we always try to keep maintenance out of the office. And, he told me that, maintenance is coming in and out of the office more than ever. Because they're all trying to make sure that they get the work orders assigned to them that they need to hit their badges, which is really funny. So we have a lot of stories about the badges, both from our own experience as operators, but also from stories that clients have shared with us. But the badges is definitely something that's very fun, and we love hearing stories. So if any of our clients are listening to this and you guys have stories, please share them with us.
Let's circle back around to that because we talked about this a little bit at the top of the call, but I think it's an important aspect for people to help people understand because you said there are a lot of apps out there. There's a lot of apps for everything. But tell me a little bit about the team that developed this. You guys have a background in multifamily. Let's talk a little bit about the development team and why they would know what property managers are really looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes down to number one is our firsthand knowledge. As a company, we put a lot of emphasis on everybody in the company knowing the industry. We had people, we have people on our team that joined the company that didn't have industry background. We actually had them go working at clients' properties. On the office side, even on the maintenance side, literally using our app as a technician to make sure that they understand the use case. They understand, how the industry works, how the app is used, how the technology is used, and that's really important. We also have people, taking, some of the really just basic but important classes offered by the NAA. Typically, that's in today's day and age. Those classes are really geared for property management companies to help their team better understand the industry. But at AppWork, we use that for our teams to help them better understand the industry and how properties operate, so we can build better technology for those properties. But we do have a handful of people on our team that have quite a lot of experience working on site, and that obviously makes it a lot easier to solve a problem that we know that we've experienced versus problems that we could only imagine. They're
real. It's not theoretical challenges people facing.
Exactly.
And so thinking about the challenges, all of this sounds great, Sean. I love the focus. I love the way that you're solving practical problems. You're creating motivation. You're creating a team spirit. It's customizable. How easy is it to onboard this app?
It's funny because that's the biggest thing, especially when we're talking from a sales perspective. People say like, "Holy cow, this app's incredible. We want to use it." We're just worried from an implementation perspective, right? It's gonna be cumbersome. It's gonna take long. It's gonna be difficult. I mean, the simple answer is, we have clients that have literally launched within a matter of days. The setup is incredibly simple. We have a lot of things already templated, and then we're fully integrated with all the property management systems. So it's honestly, it's as easy as a flick of a switch just to activate the integrations, and we could essentially have somebody live within a matter of days. Whereas there are other companies that everything has to be built by scratch, and it just takes a lot of time, very time consuming, both on the company and the client, and both sides of it. To get a client launched, so much so that launching for us is so simple. We don't even charge any implementation fees or onboarding fees. We're currently the only ones on the market that don't have fees like that. But again, it's just because implementation is so simple, and we're not going to charge a fee just because everyone else does.
I love that perspective. We're going to make it's so easy that it's so even easy for us to do it. We're not going to charge you.
Exactly.
I love that. So thinking about that perspective, it's easy to onboard, easy to get integrated. It has everything that the property managers are using anyway. Then you have an opportunity to do the customization. So the aspect of customization is really the fun part. What badges am I going to create? What rewards am I going to create? How am I going to track? That sort of thing.
Exactly. I mean, and again, even within the badges, we have like two dozen like templates built out that some of our clients will say, just give us like a bunch of the standard badges. Not a problem. It's already there. It's already live. The second we create a client in our environment. But then, like you said, then we do have clients that get have fun, get carried away. Sometimes, there's a client that we launch and like the CEO of the company had zero to do with any of the implementation, even any of the sales process. But his team told him about the badges. He wanted to personally be involved in the badge creation process. So that was like the only interaction that we had with the CEO of the company, which is really funny. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. You could come in and do like a President's Award or something. So something really exemplary, somebody could have a literal badge of honor to come in to create something and give somebody an opportunity to work for that recognition. And we know that these maintenance technicians, these folks out there are the heart of what multifamily communities are doing. Without them, everything falls apart, literally and figuratively. And a lot of times, just if we're being real, they don't feel recognized. They don't feel like people are listening to them. They don't feel like people are thinking about them. They hear about customization. They hear about AI. They hear about technology. And they don't hear about who's looking out for me.
Yep.
And you guys are coming around and you're really answering that unspoken need and unspoken want for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it all ties back to I think where the industry was when it came to maintenance management. I think up until a platform like AppWork, it was very difficult for companies just to know where their maintenance team stands. It's very hard to give recognition when you don't know what to recognize. It's very hard to even the other way, right? I mean, you want to have a conversation with somebody, right? You know, somebody whose performance isn't up to par. Well, it's very hard to have a conversation, right? If you don't know what to talk about. And, you know, unfortunately, in the industry up until now, for the most part, all of our maintenance related performance metrics, reviews, anything that, performance reviews, it was all based off of people's intuition.
It's pretty squishy. Yeah.
Right. I feel like this person's doing a good job, so we'll give him a raise. I feel like he needs improvement, so we won't give him a raise. And when companies dig into the data, they realize it couldn't be further from the truth.
The other side of that too is that if you're talking about intuition, sometimes it's an outsized reaction. So you get a resident who maybe they overreacted a little bit to a situation. Now you figure you got a maintenance person that doesn't. Maybe they're not doing. You have a misperception of the job.
100%. 100%. To your point, right? If I have, if a technician completes, 1,000 work orders, then he gets two really angry residents, and those angry residents are really vocal, it may seem like he's doing a really bad job. Right, because I have two residents that are going crazy. But again, if you look at the 1,000 work orders he's done, compare that to another person who only did 100 work orders and got zero complaints. I'd say the guy who did 1,000 work orders and only got got two angry residents. I think that's I would make the argument for him that he's doing a better job. Right?
Absolutely. Because we all, the reality of the situation is we all have bad days. And maybe the complaining residents had nothing to do with what the technician was doing. He just happened to be the first person they saw after they were having a bad day.
100%.
And now it translates into a bad report, a phone call to the property manager. And now they're putting out a fire. And so what they were trying to do is now they're not getting it done. And so it translates into a misperception. One of the things you guys have built into the app that I'm excited about from a productivity standpoint, but mainly from a leadership standpoint, thinking about the property managers, is you have a way to take the business intelligence layer and take that data and turn it into strategy. What are some ways that AppWork helps them do that?
We got a lot of ways. One of the ways that, there's a ton of data analytics, like you said, business intelligence reports, fancy graphs, analytics charts. But for me, as an operator, we found that, we only looked at the data when there was reason to. Whether it be maybe on the budget time, whether it be, something happens, maybe we're doing a review, right? There's typically always cause. No one's just sitting there unless you have a team of data analysts. No one's just a property manager, regional manager. It's not just sitting in front of the computer looking at data. So what we found is, all the reports were nice. They were important. They were very useful for us. But more importantly, on a day-to-day basis, they weren't getting used. So we created this really cool concept called our insight reports. Our insight reports are sentence-based reports that get generated and emailed directly to your maintenance supervisor, your property manager, honestly, whoever you want to get it within your organization can get them. And we're going to say anything that we think that the system identifies as positive, number one. So we'll say, hey, great job on this, great job on that. That person did great on this. Maybe somebody earned the badge, right? Great job to Johnny, who he earned XYZ badge. And we're just going to spell out in sentence-based format all the positive things. Like this, again, you're now, not only do you have the tools and the data to give recognition, we're literally telling you what recognition to give. And it's like, it can't get any easier than that.
Yeah, right? You're kicking off the weekly meeting and you want to give recognition. You can just read what's right in front of you.
It's exactly that. And, we have so many of our clients, I'll do a training and we'll say like, hey, how many of you here have like a morning meeting, a daily huddle, typically the hands go like this, depends on who's in the room. Some people, they're not sure they should, should they
Right.
say that they do one, even though they don't do one. And it just comes down to, they just feel that it's unproductive, which is why a lot of people don't do it. What are they meeting about? The meetings
Right.
all go off on a tangent, nothing productive. Well, with AppWork, with their insight reports, right, we covered two things. We covered the positive, which you spoke about. We also cover the negative, right? I wouldn't call it negative. I'd say kind of where we need improvement, where we need to work on.
Opportunities. Right.
The
Yeah.
opportunity, thank you,
Yeah.
well said, right? So like, hey, here, our work orders are looking too high. Maybe we, maybe our completion time the last week is taking too long. We got to speed that up, right? It's literally going to tell you in sentence-based format, both the pros, the good, and as well as where the opportunities lie. And that's honestly that is the recipe that you need to have a successful, whether it be a morning meeting, a Monday, a weekly meeting, right? Whatever that is that allows your team to be that much more productive. It allows your managers and maintenance supervisors to know everything that's going on their property, who needs work, who's doing well, who needs recognition, who needs some support. And allows them to work with their teams to ultimately just get better. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. If you go to any maintenance supervisor, right, and you start asking them questions, without a report like this, is something that's so simple that they could honestly skim on the way to work. It's so difficult for the on-site teams to actually know what's going on. Oftentimes, on a corporate level, we would know more about the basic property performance than the on-site teams would, because we're sitting at desks all day and just pulling numbers.
Reading the reports. Now you have an easy outline. You said census format, easy outline, so you can know where you're doing well. You can lean into that and give the recognition. Then also, follow up if there are some issues. Maybe the service orders they're piling up. So you go and you say, hey, what's going on last week? Seems like things are a little slow. What was happening out on the property that might have affected that? So you're not pointing fingers at anybody. You're leaning in and asking the team. You're inviting the team to share their concerns and their frustrations with you. So you're really just using it as an opportunity to create conversations that ties back to what you said earlier, Sean, that I think is super important. I want to underscore. You don't always know what's going on, and now you have an opportunity to create the conversations to give you real information.
Exactly. And Adam, I mean, what I tell people all the time is, data's king. Data's important, but data doesn't give you the full story.
Right.
Right. And to exactly what you said, I mean, the data is there to start the conversation. Mm-hmm. Right. Again, the system may say, hey, Johnny completed less work orders than everyone else this month. Mm-hmm. Right. But that's great. But what if maybe Johnny was out sick half the month? Right. Maybe Johnny was on vacation and, who knows where. Right. I mean, so, we can help start the conversation, but obviously there's a lot to know about what's actually happening on the property. And you have to combine your knowledge, the team's knowledge, with the data to be able to actually know what's going on and make informed decisions.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier when you're having a conversation with somebody to begin with. Hey, how's it going? It seems like something's a little off, rather than, hey, Mrs. Smith over there in 208 been screaming for 2 days. What's up?
Exactly.
Very different conversation.
No, 100%.
So you're from thinking about just kind of wrapping things up, Sean. You guys have created an interface that motivates the maintenance teams, that provides real good actionable information for the property managers. You can make it fun, make it interesting, make it a little bit competitive, and also identify areas where maybe you need a little bit of training and need a little bit of help in some areas.
Absolutely.
And then also you're talking about, we all know it's less expensive for companies to keep somebody on than to hire new in general. And so you're talking about this app gives opportunities to encourage the teams to stay together, to have less turnover.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, it's again, turnover is such a big thing. It really all ties. It's one big thing that all ties together, right? When my team is more motivated, they're more engaged, they're more productive, right? It's going to reduce their turnover, right? I mean, it's as simple as that, right? They're going to be happier. It's going to reduce the turnover, and that's going to have a massive impact on the cost of turnover. But obviously, it's going to have a massive waterfall effect throughout the entire maintenance operation and how that impacts the entire resident life cycle, and all the other impacts that maintenance has. But one thing I do want to, or a couple things I do want to add, because I know we focus so much today on the technician component, the gamification component. We spoke a little bit about the reporting, the business intelligence, and the insight reports. But AppWork's honestly so much more. I think we spoke about some of the, really the core things that we built the platform based off of. But again, AppWork handles everything related to maintenance operations, from work orders, make readies, inspections, preventative maintenance, technician management, vendor management, all kinds of data reports, analytics. We have insight reports we said already. Sorry, I'm getting repetitive over here. But we have internal incident reporting. So there's so much that AppWork does, all in our very unique way of just building a platform for the people using it, with an incredible amount of focus on user experience.
So I love what you said there. And hey, insight twice because you get so much of it. That's fine.
There you go.
So you're talking about higher efficiency, greater motivation, better data, and a lot more fun.
Exactly. I mean, and the biggest thing here is, as an operator, every KPI that we looked at our properties based off of, and standard KPIs, occupancy, right? Delinquency, rent collection, rent growth, resident turnover, everything, right? Every KPI we looked at, when we peeled away the curtain, although in some cases, occupancy, you may say, well, that's more leasing and marketing, right? When you peel away the curtain, it all ties back to maintenance. Every single KPI in the entire industry. I'm happy to challenge somebody and debate somebody. And I'm happy to walk someone through and explain how any KPI can tie directly into maintenance performance. And the better the maintenance team is performing, right, the better those KPIs will perform.
Sean, thank you for that. And I want to say thank you to your team for looking out for the maintenance professionals out there that are out there working hard every day, getting their hands dirty to take care of the residents in these communities. Appreciate that focus, man.
Thank you. And we have an incredible team that works really hard around the clock to improve that experience.
So Sean, this sounds really terrific. If I'm a property manager and I'm curious about AppWork, or if I'm a maintenance professional and I'm looking to get that in my property, how do I find out more about AppWork?
Excellent question. Well, you could go to our website, appworkco.com. That's www.appworkco.com. You can message me on LinkedIn, responsive in all ways. And yeah.
Thank you, Sean, so much. And thank you for listening to this episode of the MRO Show presented by Chadwell Supply. If you appreciated this episode, please rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast service and check out more episodes at chadwellsupply.com/podcast.